just take over for a minute.
All right. Welcome to Hump Hangout, episode 373. Currently in Austria, had a pretty sweet new year here. Not too much snow or cold, it was quite warm actually. And yeah, apparently like some cold weather is coming from, I guess, the States, because I heard Bradley had like some snowstorm or something like that the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, other than that, things are pretty good here. And yeah, let's jump to Bradley quickly.
Yeah, I'm just finishing updating the page. If you guys don't see it, well, you got to refresh, and you wouldn't see me say that. So
sorry.
No, that's all right. Yeah, we had 10 inches. It was crazy. On Sunday, it was 60 degrees Fahrenheit. And then overnight, it dropped to like 20 degrees and dumped 10 inches of snow in like 6 hours on Monday morning. So we went from like 60 degrees and nice out to 10 inches of snow and blizzard-like conditions. I lost power for a few hours, but I only lost it for a few hours. My daughter lives about 30 miles away from me, and she was out without power for over 48 hours. So anyways, it was nuts, man. It's the kind of bipolar weather that I deal with in Virginia this time of year. So anyway, Happy New Year to everybody. Want to say, Adam's not here today, so Chris and I are fumbling through the introductions.
Definitely
want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. And, we got a lot of big plans here at Semantic Mastery for the foreseeable future for this year. A lot of stuff we're going to be talking about. We're launching our own content business at the end of this month. It's called Content Kings. It'll be available for a broader audience. Right now it's still in beta in our mastermind, but it's really good because we've got a process that I've developed over many, many months with various tools. And I've got my blogger trained, and she's freaking amazing. And she's now training 2 people under her, and has been for the last several weeks, so that we can take on more customers and more volume. And it's just working really well. And something that I've done a lot of over the last couple of months last several months actually is really focused in on link building too. And, having well-tuned content is absolutely critical for link building, in my opinion, especially at tier 1. Like, you can do some amazing things. I'm not going to get into that right now. As a matter of fact, I got my next mastermind webinar on Thursday this week, and I'm going to be going into my process for link building and what is absolutely working right now on Thursday. So I know our mastermind members are pretty excited about that. I'm going to be, I've revealed just last week a lot of my sources, providers of links, but got to know how to use them too, right? You got to know where to point them and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be covering that in the mastermind on Thursday. I'm really looking forward to that. We're really trying to just help everybody this year to just, kick ass. The last 2 years have been shit. I think everybody can agree. And we want to make sure that, everybody is making the best out of this really awful, situation that we've all been dealing with, and make this year a better year. So that's kind of our focus. I know we're trying to be more accessible to people, and just, provide more value and more help and everything else. And hopefully that's coming through. I think it is. We've had a lot of good feedback lately. So this is going to be a good year. We're happy to have you guys here on a weekly basis on Hump Day Hangouts. We hope many of you will come join us on more of our kind of closed, higher level programs, and really take your business to the next level this year. But I don't want to pitch it. Just wanted to let you know. So, Chris, I know you probably got some follow-up comments.
Yes. Number 1, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not yet. And I think you missed one thing out of the Content Kings on the content subscription. So if you want to get actually into the beta test group, there might be a chance you still get a spot if you're in the mastermind, but only if you're in the mastermind. You forgot that, right? And the other thing, if you have not checked out our GMP or Google business
process,
business process page checklist yet, you can go to gmbprocess.com and check that out there. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, and thanks for reminding me, Chris. I've been so focused on link building lately, I forgot all about that. But I'm actually developing the SOPs, the standard operating procedures for that, to provide to the mastermind members. It's the only place you'll get that. And that my goal is to have that done by Friday, January 28th. I set that goal at the end of November. So I'm a little behind schedule because of, some link building stuff that I've kind of launched a done for you link building service again that's only available to mastermind members, and a link building like consultation service, and that's taken up a little bit more time than I had anticipated. So I'm still working on developing the processes, but I'm working on that, and my goal is to still have it done, even if I got to take that last week. All of you that went through college and things like that, how you put off studying or doing your term papers and all that shit until like the last couple of days, and then you cram. Well, that's kind of where I'm probably going to end up doing with the SOPs, is cramming it in at the last week if needed, to get it done by that deadline. But, I'm trying to provide that too, again, because we want to just provide so much value to where you can take one of those processed SOPs, which is in Flowster. That's why there's a big banner for Flowster right on our Hump Day Hangouts page. So that's an amazing app for training and that kind of stuff. Anyway, it'll be in there. And it's that way you can take a VA and just give them the Google Business Process template and create a workflow for each location out of it. And they can go right on down the list. And, what you guys have access to now at the, gmbprocess.com, which is the Google Business Process checklist, that's just a checklist. That is not an SOP. And I think some people conflate those two things, because in our free Facebook group, there was some discussion about that where someone was like, man, your checklist is awesome, but that's not an SOP. And I said, well, when did I call it an SOP? The title of it is a checklist, and so it's just interesting how people, an SOP is a full on, like, here's the training videos and here's the step-by-step procedures on how to execute every one of those items in the checklist. Does that make sense? So that's kind of what the goal is to have that done by January 28th, so that, again, you can take a VA, you can hire somebody for $5 an hour or whatever, and send and plug them into it. You run a workflow off of that template. You assign that workflow to that location, and then you give it to them, and they can go through it and just execute each one of those tasks, because the training will be there and written instructions, literally written instructions step by step on how to execute every single task. So there's no guesswork. And so if that's not worth the price of admission to the mastermind, then nothing is. Or you can do it on your own. And trust me, that takes a lot of time. It's an enormous task creating SOPs, but I've gotten pretty good at it, and I know how valuable that is. So
definitely, that's how you scale your business.
Amen. All right, cool. Let's get into questions. Unless we have other announcements. Any other announcements, Chris?
No, let's get it started.
Okay, cool. I'll grab the screen. All right. Hopefully you guys are seeing everything. BB's back. What's up, BB? It's been a minute. And good to see you back, man, for real. I think the first one today is from Eduardo. Looks like it. Hey, Vance. I think Vance is here. I think when it's green, it means you guys are actually here, which is cool. Thank you in advance and wishing you guys a great New Year's Eve. Okay, yeah, so that was from last week. But yeah, thanks, man. Happy New Year to you as well. Eduardo says, hey, Semantic Mastery. I'm looking to cut down costs for indexing services like Omega Indexing. Wondering if there's a good free or cheap way we can index all of our links and link building for client projects. Okay, so I got some real, strong opinions on this right now. And that is, guys, I've been testing my ass off for the last several months. I mean, on link building, on all different types of link building. And I can tell you right now, the spam links, bulk spam, is just not doing what it used to do. It's just not nearly as effective. And so I'm just not using it. About 3 weeks ago now, I decided I'm just not going to use spam links anymore. I'm just not going to do it. Bulk spam. As much as I hate to say that, for years, I was able to crush it. We were able to crush it by, just doing massive amounts of bulk spam links to our, SEO Shield properties or tier 1 entity assets, all that stuff. And it would work. And I'm not saying that you still can't do it, but you need so much more higher volume of it. And the problem is everything is taking, like, indexing is broken right now. It's so slow. And so you can have, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of spam links built, but getting them indexed to where they're going to count and do anything is really where the problem is. So I don't know that it's the links themselves, but it's the indexing, if that makes sense. So it's very difficult to get, and that's part of the reason I just don't want to use them anymore. They're not getting indexed. It takes such high volume. And then when you do run them through, you have to run them through multiple indexers, which is a huge bill in itself. Especially when you're doing mass links, like you said, Omega Indexer, it's like 2 cents per link or 0.2 cents per link indexing cost. And it's just not feasible, right? If you've got 10,000 links, that's going to cost you an arm and a leg just to run it through an indexer. And it's very unlikely that they're going to get indexed anyways. So I just stopped using them. I made the decision. I'm not going to use bulk spam anymore, period. End of story. I'm using higher quality links now. I pay more for them, but they're much more effective. They index a lot quicker. They move the needle. I'm trying to use mostly niche relevant links. So from topically relevant sources where possible. But again, I'm going to be covering all of this on Thursday in our mastermind webinar about, what I've discovered over the last many months, that I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on links, and I've discovered what's really working right now. And again, so I made my own decision. I'm not going to use bulk spam. If you're still going to continue to use it, then what I would recommend is that you would, put all of your links into like a G Sheet, for example, make it a public folder. If you don't know how to do that, you can always create a public folder by sharing a doc into an account that does have public folders. You can't do that anymore with new accounts, but if you have an account where you had public folders at some time, then you could place doc like a Google Sheet into that folder and make it public. And then you can insert all of your links there. And then you could build some links to that sheet to get, the bots to come crawl it and all that kind of stuff. But even that's not really a guarantee that they're going to get indexed. But that's the only way that I could do it, because I use Omega Indexer myself, but I'm only doing real high quality links now. So my volume is considerably lower. I mean, like it's a fraction of what I used to do. Right. And so it's not really much of an expense. It's negligible because I'm only indexing really high quality links. And a lot of those cases, those links index on their own because I'm using, blogs that have already traffic on them. And that's a big thing. And by the way, that's another way that you can index links is by sending traffic to your links. But you can't do that when you've got tens of thousands of links. How are you going to send traffic to all those links? Right. But if you go out and you place your own links in like really well-tuned tier 1 assets. So content on tier 1 assets, which is one of my preferred methods, period. Again, I'm going to be talking a lot about this on Thursday. But if you like buy a guest post or a niche edit or a link insertion, but guys, don't buy cheap ones because again, they're junk. Trust me, I've done a ton of testing over the last couple of months. And if you buy shit, junk, niche edits or link insertions, you're going to get shit results. And they're going to be 8 other links hacked into that same article with the same damn outbound anchor text. So it completely dilutes the power of the link itself. And also, if you're buying shit guest posts on cheap blogs, you're going to get, tier 1 links that are pointing back to your site that are right alongside like casino posts and pharma posts and stuff like that. So I'm saying, if you're going to spend money on links, you're going, my opinion is get higher quality links, the ones that are going to move the needle, that are going to stick. It's going to help you to rank and stick. And then you've got now much less volume. And one of the tricks that absolutely helps links to index is running traffic through it. Right. So if you go from building 10,000 links to building 10 links with the same basic cost, really, but you've only got 10 links now, of course you can run them through indexers because it's only 10 links. And then you can set up CT spam traffic, right? CT manipulation, CTR manipulation, whatever you want to call it. I always called it CT spam. So click through, right? You can, if you have access to any one of the click-through tools, CTR booster tools, I personally use Viper tools, Michael Bose. We still have an affiliate link for that, I believe, but an SM short link, Chris, if you want to grab it. But Viper tools is great. And I like to do that because if I'm placing an art, like for example, and I'll reveal this, one of my favorite linking strategies right now to link to the money site, but it's more than that, is cloud-hosted pages. They're fantastic because like cloud hosted pages, meaning HTML pages on Google Cloud Storage, Amazon S3, Microsoft Azure, like those types of sources where you're using like the cloud storage domain and you're instantly, like, for example, I just published my very first HTML site using this awesome HTML builder that one of our mastermind members pointed out to me called Mobirise, MOBIRISE.com. It's $100. It's a fantastic HTML site builder. I picked it up and it was either New Year's Day or I think it was the day after New Year's. So I think it was Sunday, the 2nd, whatever. I spent about 4 hours kind of playing with that HTML builder, and I figured out just to learn how to use it. And I also learned how to set up a HTML hosted site on Google Cloud Storage. And so I built this site and published the site into Google Cloud Storage on their domain. And when I went to go view it in the browser, I had the Moz bar turned on, and it's 93 domain authority and like 48 page authority. Like just like that, like brand new URL with that much authority. So those are like my favorite like tier one links right now, because we can control the content, right? So really well-tuned content, which by the way, we're launching our Content Kings business at the end of the month, so that you can get really well-tuned SEO entity tuned content that now you can place as tier one links on these cloud hosted pages and siphon instant amount of high authority from those domains. And you can control all the outbound links on the page, unlike on guest posts or niche edits. Does that make sense? And you can also link to all of your tier zero assets, which includes your location landing page, your money site, your Google business website, and your map, right? So you can put a map embed, you can put NAP in the page, super relevant content on a super high authority cloud storage domains, various domains, right? Microsoft Azure Cloud, Google Cloud Storage, S3. I'm starting to use Rackspace, Linode, Vulture, like all of these, because I'm doing a lot of this right now. It's super powerful. And you can control those tier one links. And now you can build topically relevant links at tier two, not mass links, but good links, right? So niche relevant PBN links and that kind of stuff at tier two to those cloud hosted pages, and push massive amounts of authority as well as relevance, topical relevance through those tier one links. And now you've only got a handful of links to index, and you can run traffic to them, right? So you can set up CT, spam tools that will run traffic through your tier one links to your money site, which will help your tier one links to get indexed. You can even do it out of tier two. If you're not doing tens of thousands of links, you can set up campaigns to run tier links from traffic, referral traffic from the tier two links to your tier one assets, which will help your tier one assets, and then set up separate campaigns to run traffic from your tier one assets to your money site. Does that make sense? And that the traffic, it's like magic, right? It helps those links to index, and it's showing activity on those links, which you can't do with bulk spam. And I mean, maybe somebody's got some tools that does that, but honestly, I don't see the point anymore. Like, it's just not working like it used to. And I found just some really, really, really good ways to use links right now. I've been like obsessing about it for the last few months, but I love it. It's a lot of fun. I also like digging into the data, looking at backlink profiles and everything else. So hopefully, Eduardo, I answered your question. Like, if you're going to continue to use bulk spam links, there's not really a lot that you can do. There is one other source I'm going to point out real quick that I just started using. And they've got some different, tiers and everything else, but because I'm not doing bulk links anymore, I'm using this one tier here. It's called speed-links.net, speed-links.net. And so I'm subscribed at this $500 per month for $9.99 because it's some new indexing method, whatever. I don't know what that means, but I only get 500 with one subscription. I only get 500 links per month, but I'm not really building more than that right now, if that makes sense, because I'm doing a lot less links, but much higher quality. But for those of you that are still doing bulk spam, they've got some other, indexing methods here with, for indexing bulk spam. But like I said, guys, I mean, I've been testing for months and months and months, and I've not found bulk spam to really be doing what it used to. It used to work like crazy, and it's just not now. And I don't know that that's the links problem or if it's the indexing problem. It's probably a combination of both, but they're just not working. So why keep pissing money away on stuff that's not moving the needle? That's my point, Anyway, I like the better links too, because they tend to have a quicker effect. They, and you see it quicker. I mean, even those are still sometimes are indexing slower, but if you publish on a high traffic blog or you mimic traffic by using like CT spam tools, then, or you could even set up some Google display ads and run traffic to the page where your link is placed that you're trying. So like, again, like a tier one cloud hosted page, for example, if you want to use that, it might not index right away unless you're sending traffic to it. So you can use CT spam bots to do it, or you could set up like a Google Ads display campaign and run some traffic to that page. The problem, there's not a problem, but the difference is when you've got a CT spam tool, then you can direct the bots, right, the simulated traffic to click through once they land on that page, to click through your target URL back to your money site, which is a good signal. It's a referral traffic signal. But when you're buying traffic through Google Ads, which again, that's a great strategy because those are real people too, right? Those are real Google users. So that's great traffic to help the page index, but you can't direct those users when they click the ad and they land on the page to click on the link back to your money site. Again, it just, whatever you want to do. If you don't want the expense of a CT spam tool, then perhaps you can use Google Ads. I mean, I know you can, I've done it, but you don't have as much control over what that traffic does, if that makes sense. So Anyway, I get excited about this stuff. Can you tell? All right, let's move on. Hopefully that answers your question, Eduardo. My recommendation is stop using spam, but if you're going to, you have to be a little bit more creative. Google Sheets is still a good way to get it done. But you got to get the bots to come crawl the sheets. I've talked about this before, but using the ID page is a good place to do it. It's an iframe loop. So you can actually you can publish a G sheet and embed it into an ID page, and the bots are going to come crawl that. So you could constantly just continually add links to that. I usually only do that with citations for local projects. That's all I do is local anyways. But you could probably do it with bulk spam too, and get at least get the links crawled. Maybe not indexed, but crawled. And that's really what matters, right? Anyway. John says, hey guys, a couple of years ago, I watched a webinar with you and Lisa Allen about using Rank Feeder for co-citation. Is using Rank Feeder for co-citation still worthwhile for local SEO? No, yeah, it is. Or is the local prominence plugin good enough? Well, the local prominence plugin and Rank Feeder in co-citation are two different things. That's apples and oranges. Yes, they're both valid. Local prominence is about creating geo posts or locally relevant pages or posts on a site to help to create local relevance, right? So that's about publishing content on the site. Typically, like, you kind of orphan those pages. There's still internal links, but they're not like pages or posts that you would want showing up in your navigation menu or, that kind of stuff, because they're not really topically relevant. It's about adding local relevance, right? And so if you go to the, local prominence plugin landing page, their sales page, you can scroll down and see they've got a few videos on there that talk about how to use those posts, and I've tested that across several domains, and it definitely helps. But that's a different strategy than what we're talking about with Rank Feeder and Lisa Allen's product. That again, I like to use that on the ID pages. It's because you can take that Rank Feeder feed, which is where you find topically and local relevant RSS feeds, right? So it's hard to find both, right? One RSS feed that is both topically and locally relevant. I guess depends on what industry you're in. But what I do is find topically relevant RSS feeds, and then I also find locally relevant RSS feeds. So government websites, event websites, local event websites and things like that, the ones that have feeds, local municipality websites. So, city and county government sites, those are also good. They typically have some sort of RSS feeds that you can find. And then I'll find topically, like for me, for tree services, there's a number of blogs that I'll use, like, I don't know, there's the TCIA, which is Tree Care Industry Association.org. There's several different sites that I use for topical relevance. Anyways, I'll grab those RSS feeds and I kind of put them all into this Rank Feeder, and it creates these super feeds, these splice feeds that you can also insert static items. So single URLs. That's where you would insert your location landing page, Google business website URL. You can actually get Google an RSS feed from your Google business profile. Some of the post schedulers do that. I use OneUp app, and you can get an RSS feed from that. So that's you can submit every time you publish a post. It actually updates that feed, that super feed, along with all of those other topically and locally relevant items in the feed. But you can put sticky items in there, which are static URLs that are always going to appear in the feed. And you can have it randomized where they appear so that it's not always like at the top and all that kind of stuff. And those are good for, again, embedding into an ID page. The bots come crawl the ID page often. It's an iframe loop, right? It's that mirror and mirror, like never ending thing. And so that's a good place to put it. The way you do it is go to FeedBurner. FeedBurner is still a thing, but if you go to feedburner.com, you can actually take the RSS feed from Rank Feeder and you can burn a FeedBurner feed out of it. And then you go enable the Buzz Boost option, and that gives you an HTML embed code for the FeedBurner feed. Does that make sense? So you can now take that embed code and embed that into the ID page, and that's automatic dynamic content. So it's going to get the bots to come crawl that ID page often. It's other people's content that's topically relevant, locally relevant, and it just causes these signals. And that's where I've found some pretty good success with it. And I know some of the members that I'd used that had picked up her tool have talked about they've seen some pretty good results with that as well. I'll be honest, I don't use it as much as I should anymore. I know it still works though. But yeah, it's still valid. But those two things are different, different tools. They do different things, if that makes sense. So it's still a good tool. It's purely an SEO tool with the rank feeder thing. It's not like RSS Master technology, which is much more of a marketing tool. Rank feeder is strictly an SEO tool. So, but it works. Okay. Oh, by the way, it's interesting. In some really low competition areas, the RSS feed it creates two from rank feeder. It creates two feeds. Like one is like a standard RSS feed, and another one's an HTML page, and that HTML page will rank. It's crazy because I've got this one really low competition tree service area, and if I do a brand search for that area, then that location, that rank feeder feed always pops. It's always on page one, which is interesting because it's just a collection of links. It's just a feed, right? So, Bibi, what's up? He says, hey guys, went silent here for a few months, went bust with all the trying to make money online. So I had to find a regular job and stop hustling, I guess. Also tried to find a lady, but no luck for now, maybe in the summer. Okay, well, now I can understand, man. Well, here's the thing, Bibi, before we get into it, probably and I don't know this without talking to you, but I can only imagine that, you're probably like a lot of people, and that is, excuse me, I gotta stop that real quick. I forgot to turn Google Voice off before or mute it anyway. All right. You're probably like most people, Bibi, in this industry, as I was, just like I was, and have been multiple times throughout my career, in that you chase too many shiny objects, right? Too many opportunities. We get into this business I think people that get into this business are have entrepreneurial spirit, right? Which means we're always looking for opportunity. The thing is it's so easy to chase opportunity and never like really focus in and put the work into any one of them to find success. And that's the problem, right? Like it's so easy. Like the grass is always going to be greener on the other side of the fence, which means whatever it is that you decide you're interested in to make money online, you're going to start on that. And then all of a sudden, you're going to realize like there's a lot of work that has to go in. You're going to have to trial and error. I don't care how good the training is. There's always trial and error, right? And once you get into that, I'm looking at right here on the side of my wall, I have this sheet that I posted. It's called the emotional cycle of change, and it's 5 stages. The first one is always uninformed optimism, which means like you hear about an opportunity, and like all of a sudden it's uninformed optimism because you don't really know all that goes into that opportunity. You're just excited about the opportunity. Stage number 2 is informed pessimism, which means like, okay, now now that you started on that path and you're getting more information about the amount of work and the learning curve and all that kind of stuff. Like all of a sudden now, okay, now you know more about it. And it's like, oh, you know what? I'm not sure I'm capable of this, or that I want to put all that work in, and blah, blah, blah. Then you get to stage 3, which is at the bottom of the curve because it's like a V, right? It says the valley of despair. And that's where like you're underwater. You don't know whether you're going to be able to ever make it work. And, you're thinking about quitting, and most people do at that point. But if you can keep pushing and staying focused and keep working at it, stick to it, have tenacity, then you can get to stage number 4, which is informed optimism, right? Which is now, okay, now you're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel, like potential success or maybe small successes, right? And then lastly, stage number 5 is success and fulfillment. That's like, okay, man, I did it, like I stuck through it. I was able to learn it. Now I know it. Another way to look at it is once difficult, now easy, right? Like everything that you're going to start, and especially on, online marketing, like just pick something that you're really interested in and stick with that. And I may be wrong in saying that, Bibi, that maybe you didn't chase a bunch of shiny objects, but I know I have over my career. I know it's hard for me now still to turn away from webinars when I see, like somebody promote. I'm a marketer, right? So I'm susceptible to marketing messages. So when I see stuff coming in my email that looks exciting, I want to spend my time watching that webinar and then dropping $1,000 to buy that product. And I'm going, oh man, I'm going to have to budget time to do this bullshit. No way. Cause I got too much other stuff I'm doing that's working. You know what I mean? It was very difficult not to chase those objects. I understand that. And that's because I think, as entrepreneurs, we're wired to, to be open to opportunity. Right. And so, but I think it takes discipline. It takes discipline to pick something and stick with it and go through that whole kind of emotional cycle of change until you reach some level of success. But it's worth it. Trust me. It really is. If you can just keep your head down and stick focused, in one lane until you get success with that, you can always expand and do other things after you've monetized, whatever it is that you chose. Does that make sense? So anyway, I'll finish your questions now. I just, wanted to kind of preach on that a little bit, because when I started getting focused on very specifically local SEO and very specifically tree service contractors, that side of my business started to grow instead of spreading myself out across all different kinds of industries. And then, for Semantic Mastery, we've grown more in the last 2 months than we have in the last 2 years. And it's because the three of us, have now become really, really focused on what our goals are and what our intentions are. And we're, cutting out all the other bullshit. And it's just, we've got a very narrow lane that we're going to stick within. And that's local SEO, link building, and content. Those 3 things. That's it. And we're going to stick to that. And that's where we're going to see the most growth. And we already have, if that makes sense. So it's really about just, choosing something and sticking with it. At least that's my advice. If you can do that, you'll start to have success. I promise you. All right. So the questions, number 1 is, how do you make money with paid ads that cost pennies or cents? YouTube. If that's something you're interested in, man, like, driving traffic with paid ads, YouTube is incredibly inexpensive, and you can do affiliate marketing with YouTube. I've one thing that's on my wish list for 2022 is to get back into really trying to drive traffic for local businesses with YouTube ads. I do it for clients on like a branding level. It's like an indirect lead generation method. That's more about branding. But I want to start testing on like driving, lead generation with YouTube ads for local businesses. But you got to break some eggs. You got to spend some money to do it, because you got to test and all that kind of stuff. But YouTube is a great strategy for low cost traffic, if that's something you're interested in. And you can get into the affiliate marketing side. I would recommend, if you're thinking about doing YouTube ads and affiliate marketing, go follow Justin Sardi. He is the master. He's got that great big hair, that fucking hair like this, and he does a lot of weed stuff too. But he's the master at that. I learned how to run YouTube ads from him, even though he doesn't really teach local. That's where how I learned how to run YouTube ads. Justin Sardi's badass. If you're interested in doing affiliate marketing and using YouTube as your traffic source, I highly recommend, or YouTube ads, I highly recommend you should go follow Justin Sardi. Okay. So that would be my recommendation on that. I don't do Facebook ads, never had any desire to do it. So I can't talk about that. And I don't think those are cheap anymore anyway. So again, YouTube is the only thing I would suggest for inexpensive paid traffic. All right. Number 2, about the keyword research package. How do you find the keyword research package, the keywords which will generate the most conversions, and not only conversions, but also that they buy? Well, that's through testing, and also what is the intent, right? So keywords can be categorized by intent. There's informational, there's transactional, commercial intent. There's all these different types of intent. And so they're categorized that way. Now, just to be clear, MGYB, what used to be MGYB, is now called the Heavy Hitter Club store. They're not part of Semantic Mastery anymore. So we don't produce the keyword research reports. We don't have a store. We're launching our Content Kings business at the end of the month, which is entirely just the 3 of us at the Semantic Mastery now. So I can't really, speak about what they do there, except from past experience, and that they produce a huge list of keywords. That's basically every keyword in the market at all levels. And then they categorize it with the deep keyword research. They categorize it by intent, suggested silos, and all that. And so you should be able to, from that report, be able to determine what are the keywords with commercial intent. Those are like the buying keywords. And those would be the ones that, that's like bottom of funnel type keywords. Top of funnel would be like informational queries or informational keywords, that kind of stuff. So, okay. But again, you guys, I don't have anything bad to say. I'm just saying that's not part of our business anymore. So we're not going to spend a lot of time continuing to answer questions about that. I know for a long time it was. So just to be clear, I'm not saying anything negative. I just want everybody to know, like, that's in the past, and we're focusing on what's ahead of us. And that is not part of our business anymore. So moving on. Number 3, how will you attack a site that is a global company or global e-commerce that needs to be discovered in all countries in the world with your methods? I can't answer that. I'm not even going to try to, BB, forgive me. But I don't do e-commerce, number 1. And all I do is local in the US, period. That's all I've ever done my entire career. So if I was trying to give you advice right here, it would be stuff that I was pulling out of thin air, and that would be wrong and unethical. And I'm not going to do that. I can't help you with any sort of e-commerce questions, and I can't help you with anything about global marketing because I don't do it. I just do strictly local marketing in the United States. And I can, those same principles would apply to local marketing in Canada and Australia. And I know because I'm working with some of my mastermind members on some projects in Canada and Australia. So I know that all those local stuff applies in any one of those locations, but English speaking countries, let's put it that way. So I can't help you with that. Forgive me, but that's just not my expertise. And if I told you anything, it would be bullshit. So I'm not going to tell you. Sorry, but that just got to be some other people out there that can help you with that, though. Okay. She says, hi, all. I've seen people monetize their YouTube channel within 2 weeks. How do they get real subscribers and watch time? Good question. Again, go check out Viper Tools, man. Michael Bose and his group with Viper Tools, like that's what he originally created Viper Tools for, was for YouTube stuff. And he talks like in his, I'm not sure about it as just the Viper Tools group, but I know in his Platinum Mastermind group, he talks like that's one of the things that he teaches is how to monetize channels really quickly and use CT spam, right? Click-through rate manipulation to help get the channel monetized very, very quickly. He does a lot of training about that. That's not something I do. So it's not, I can't really provide you with guidance on that because that's not my area of expertise, but I can point you to the right direction. And that would be Michael Bowe's group. I think he's probably one of the best in the business for that because that's, it's what he developed Viper Tools for, which now also has, Google Business Viper, the Google Traffic Viper, like all those are the ones I use. I rarely use the YouTube Viper just because I don't do a lot of YouTube organic stuff. I do a lot of YouTube paid traffic. But anyway, again, guys, I'm only going to try to answer questions that I have experience and expertise in. But I can, try to point you in the right direction. And I think Michael Buzz would be a really good one. Also, there's another dude that he's got a launch going on right now for some YouTube monetization stuff. And he's supposed to be incredibly good. If you guys are in the legit Facebook group, I know Chris Walker just promoted that. And anybody that knows about Yive sites and, Yive video and all that, that whole group, I know they're promoting that same product right now for YouTube monetization and how to do exactly what you're asking. So that it's expensive. It's like a $1,500 product, but I know there's a like $500 coupon floating around out there right now. So you can get it for $1,000. I have not been through it, so I can't vouch for that. But I know that if Chris Walker at Legit says it's a good product and vouches for it, which he did, he doesn't promote a lot of affiliate stuff just to promote stuff. Then I respect that, what he says, and it's probably a really, really good product. So if you're just looking for training, check that out. If you're looking for training and tools, and again, I don't know anything about that product, so I don't know if it has tools or not, but Michael Bowe's group and Viper Tools would be my recommendation. Okay. Gordon, what's up, Gordon? Hey, buddy. He says, welcome to 2022. I hope it's a very lucrative year for you. I just hope it's better than the last two, and I know it will be. I'm fairly confident it will be. I just wanted to clarify the answer to a question you answered last week about using scraped content from top-ranked sites, then mixing and matching it, and then rephrasing it to use as your own. I'm pretty sure that most of the tools like Page Rewriter pitch their tool for creating money site content that will rank. But unless I misunderstood what you said last week, you only use that type of content for tier 1 properties, etc., not for your money sites. Yeah, that's true. That's my methodology. I'm not saying anybody else is wrong, but on my own money sites and client sites, all my main assets, I develop in-house content, right? Like my content is developed in-house through my methods that I developed through a suite of tools, various tools. And now, again, I trained my blogger to do it, and she took it over 100%. I don't have to do it anymore. And that's what we're launching in our Content Kings business. And it's just because, again, I'm not saying you can't get results mixing and matching other people's content and rephrasing it and everything else, but we produce original content, right? It's a very systematic procedure that we go through. And we have the AI tools tell us what it's going to take for that content that we're publishing to be competitive for whatever query it is we're optimizing for. Does that make sense? We always start with the outline. We develop the outline first. With as many section headings as what's suggested by the tools that we use. There's usually a number of H2s, and then there's H3s that support the H2s, usually question type headings, because Google loves questions and answers. And so it might say, okay, you should have, 18 headings. And so we might have, 6 H2s and 12 H3s. And that's where we start. And then we flesh out each one of those sections using AI writing assistants. And then once all the content has been fleshed out, then we go tune it with our tuning tools, right? We've got a number of those that we use: Outranking, Surfer SEO. I use Inlinks personally for my own stuff, inlinks.net. So, there's a number of tools that will do that. Page Optimizer Pro. There's a lot of them that you can buy now for, I don't know how good they are, but on AppSumo, they're coming out like, a dozen a week anymore, it seems like. But, again, that's what I do. That's the method I use. There's more than one way to skin a cat, guys. So, I'm not saying that our way is the only way. I'm just telling you what I do. Okay. And we always develop our content in-house for all money site projects, whether it's clients or lead gen assets or whatever. That's just the way we do it. But I do love using, I was just talking about this. I built that HTML site I was talking about earlier on Google's cloud storage using the mobyrise.com HTML builder, which is fantastic. That thing's badass, man. And I built that page just to test with it using Article Forge content. It's a tier 1 asset that I'm using. And so, Article Forge is like an AI writing, it creates articles using similar technology to like Jarvis and all that stuff, but you can direct it better with keywords. You have a primary keyword that you write in natural language patterns, and then you put supporting keywords, which clarifies the intent. And so it will write, it's not good. I found it's not very good at there's 3 different output levels: 250 words, 500 words, and 750. And I found it 500 and 750 it usually isn't that good. But if you can do 250 word outputs, then you can patch a bunch of those outputs together to create. So again, going back to what I was just talking about with an outline, I still use the same process. I still flesh out an outline when I'm going to use Article Forge to generate content. And you could do the same thing, by the way, with Page Rewriter, if that's the tool you're using, right? What I'm saying is flesh out the outline before you try to create a piece of content. That should be your primary objective, is to flesh out an outline based upon what good tools like Outranking or Surfer or any one of them tells you it's going to take to be competitive. Flesh the outline out first. So get all your heading tags in place. Now you can go flesh that out using Page Rewriter or Jarvis or Article Forge, right? Now you've got a skeleton that you just got to add meat to the bones of. Does that make sense? And that's how you're going to have the best success with any one of these tools. Is, again, the primary thing that you should focus on first is the outline and getting your heading tags in place to be competitive. Whatever they tell you it's going to take to be competitive. And then you flesh that out. And that's how you have the most success. And you can do it again, Article Forge is good for that at 250 word outputs. So you do multiple 250 word outputs. If you want a 1,500 word article, you need 6 or 7 of them, right? 6 of them technically, but you'll find that there's going to be parts of that output that you're going to delete. You're going to have to rewrite. And you're going to have to insert manually some connecting sentences between headings and things like that. But you can do it very, very quickly with a tool like Article Forge or Page Rewriter. Page Rewriter is a great tool. I use it in my business all the time. But again, have the outline first. Once you have that, then it's really easy to go mix and match content that fits within your headings tags that you've already set. And then you just, you have to reword them and massage them a little bit to get them to flow properly. But, again, I'm not saying you can't use that for money site content. I just don't. We do everything in-house manually with AI assisted tools. Okay. So is it okay to use with no problems? Yes, it is. I just use it on tier 1 assets. That's all I'm saying. You guys can take whatever I say and choose to use that or not. It's entirely up to you. But I prefer, original type. And I say original, it's AI writing assistant. So a lot of that shit still pulled off the web and just rephrased. But we do it all in-house on money site content. Okay. Vance says, hey, gents, could you recommend a source for VAs? Is there a website I could check out? Yeah, I mean, when we set up Vance, we have a product called Outsource Kingpin. It's a bit dated, but the process is still the same. Whenever we have to go on a hiring spree, which we've leaned out a lot, we don't run the store that we had with what used to be MGYB anymore. They took that with them when Marco left with Rob. So they're managing that. That's good. We had a lot of workers, a lot of builders, a lot of VAs, contract employees, and is a lot to manage. And we have a very lean operation now, and we intend to keep it that way. And anyway, whenever we have to do a lot of hiring, or even not really necessarily a lot of hiring, but we set up, it's called a hiring funnel. And we developed a product, like I developed a product back in 2014 when I learned and started outsourcing. I learned this method of a hiring funnel. It wasn't called that, but that's what I ended up calling it. From Gonzalo Paternoster was his name. It was called Joy Proof. And I don't think it's even a thing anymore, but way back then, that's where I learned how to do it. And I kind of modified it to my own needs and started hiring VAs that way, because, it quickly helps you to eliminate tire kickers and time wasters and all that kind of shit. And you only end up spending any time communicating with really qualified candidates that are motivated, that have proven to follow instruction, that they can follow instructions and all that. So anyways, we got a product that I developed out of that called Outsource Kingpin. It was called something else before we called it that, but whatever. It's available. If you're interested in that, I would encourage you to check it out. Like I said, it's dated. I think we produced that in 2015, maybe 2016, but the principles are all still the same. So, I would recommend that you do something like that. And then I'm getting to your point here. We would use onlinejobs.ph. That's what we always used to find Philippines VAs. So this is the site that we always used whenever we would, we would create a hiring funnel depending on what position it was that we needed. And then we'd go subscribe, at the time it was like $50 a month. I don't know what it is now. It's been a couple of years since I've been in there. Looks like $69 a month. So it's gone up a little bit, but we'll go subscribe for a month is all it takes. And then you submit the job with the very clear instructions, like what we teach in Outsource Kingpin, and everybody goes through the hiring funnel. Like, you don't have to answer and read resumes. You don't have to do any of that shit. You just post the job, and there's specific instructions in the job posting on how they get access to the app, how they go through the application process, and everything's automated. And they go through that process. And then all you do is, once at the very end, and it's interesting, but if 80 people would initially apply, because you'll get a shit ton of and that's why most people fail at hiring a VA, is because, if you post a job on one of these sites, you get, 300 freaking applications, and it's from people that are not qualified. They didn't even really read the job posting. They just saw a new posting and they submitted, and that's why I love the hiring funnel, because it forces them to take specific steps and follow instructions. And if they don't follow instructions, they're instantly disqualified. They're out. You didn't read, you didn't follow the video, or the step-by-step instructions that I wrote throughout the funnel. If that makes sense, like, it instantly disqualifies people that are going to be problems if you ended up hiring them, because they clearly can't follow instructions. That's it, right? So they prove themselves by going through the funnel. And then once they get on the whatever the output side of the funnel is, like I said, we consistently, if 80 people applied in the front end of the funnel, by the time it would go through, we might end up with 6 or 7 candidates at the end. And that funnel did all that work for us. And then I would typically interview the candidates that made it all the way through the funnel. And that interview process is where you determine who you hire, because it's really about, how do they communicate? Is the communication strained between us during the interview process? If so, it means our communication is probably going to be difficult on projects. So it's really about, they've already proven they can follow instructions and execute the tasks that you ask them to execute through the funnel process. So really, the interview process is just about how well do we communicate, right? And if we communicate well, then now you're a prime candidate for, I might offer you a job, if that makes sense. So this is what we always use. I mean, I still use Upwork all the time. I just hired a ninja HTML developer over there, because I'm doing a lot of HTML sites, as I've just talked about today many times. I'm also rebuilding expired domains right now. So we pull the archive records, from the Wayback Machine. We download the records, and then those are usually junk, and their sites look like shit. So I hired this awesome HTML editor or developer over, and he's in India. His name is Neeraj, and he's badass. He's ninja. I pay him $16 an hour, but I go find the domains and purchase them, and I set up the hosting on cloud hosting, and then I go download the HTML files from Wayback Machine. And I just send him a message in Upwork and say, here's the domains. And we have a folder that all the HTML downloads are in, the zip files. And then he just goes and he modernizes the site. So he'll take the Wayback Machine archive records, and he'll reproduced them in HTML5. So it's all modern with animations and everything. And then and then he publishes the site for me. And now we've got sites that are 100% relevant to the projects I'm working on, that are rebuilt old domains. So I get perfect topical trust flow links back to my money assets, and they'll pass manual review all day long because they're modernized HTML sites. So again, Upwork is a great source, but you have to know how to hire. And that's why, even if you don't want to go set up hiring funnels and do like mass hiring, or attempt that, I would still recommend that you pick up Outsource Kingpin so that you can learn, like, the types of things that you can do to weed out candidates that aren't going to be a good fit for whatever project it is that you need. If that makes sense. Chris, do you have anybody else you would recommend besides Online PH or Upwork?
Well, actually, even Fiverr, it depends really what you're doing or what you need. There's People Per Hour that I used a couple times. But yeah, like Online Jobs PH, Upwork, even on my end, the main ones. Except, well, it depends. Like if you need like a very, I don't know, like a specific designer or a programmer or something like that, there are a couple other boards. And the other thing where I hired from is from Facebook groups. So like usually there are like certain groups where they have job boards on Facebook groups. That can work as well for you. Or even if you find a course that is for like a specific thing, you can also like post in those groups, and like you can literally pick somebody who's already an expert right from there.
So I see what you're saying. So you're being like if you had a training course that you want to implement that method into your business, there's likely going to be people that have that will provide done for you services for that, right?
Yes. So for example,
like
if you remember,
PA assistants.
If you remember the very back in the day, the forum where we all started from.
Yeah.
I even got like, they also had like a job section and stuff. I also hired people from there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For link building and all kinds of things.
Okay, well, thanks. So Vance says, also, I just picked up a wiki link. How do you recommend to index and promote it? Well, what do you mean you picked up a wiki link and get it indexed? If it's a Wikipedia page and you got a link inserted into a Wikipedia page, it's likely that Wikipedia page is already indexed. So I'm not sure I understand. If you're talking about a Wikidata page, then yeah, you can build a few links to it. I don't recommend building spam links to anything anymore. It's just my opinion and what I found. So I wouldn't do that, but I would build some decent links to it, a couple of good PBN links or something like that, or drive traffic to it. That's what I was talking about before. One of the quickest ways to get things indexing right now, guys, is drive traffic to it, right? Real traffic or spam traffic, like, spoofed traffic. Either way, typically it will get indexed that way. And again, think about that, guys. Why would Google do that? Why would Google almost require, and I'm not saying that they are, but why would links that are getting engagement signals index and ones that aren't getting engagement signals don't? Because it proves that it's a valid link, right? Think about that. I mean, we can go out and build links all day long on pages that never get a single fucking visitor ever, right? And so why would Google want to index a link like that when there's no activity? It's basically no value to anybody. Right. So if you can run traffic through a link now, all of a sudden the bots are going to recognize there's activity on that link. Okay, let's go see what this is about. Crawl the page and likely index it. Okay. To me, it's a great way to, cut down on or combat, right? Fight spam is to only start index. I'm not saying that they're only indexing links that have traffic. I just know from testing over the last few months now that one of the easiest ways to get a link index is to run traffic to it. And that just, it seems to work. It's hard to do that with bulk links. I don't know how you do that with bulk links, but you can with much lesser links, much less volume, higher quality links. Besides that, higher quality links are typically going to index whether you manipulate it or not. It's another reason to use them. That's my point. So, but you're talking about a Wikidata page. I know what you mean. If that's the case, because there's that provider that I've never been able to get Wikidata pages myself to stick. Whenever I've created them, they've always been moderated out, and it's very frustrating. But found a provider that can do that, and so that's what I'm doing. I just set up a CTR campaign to run some traffic to it, and then I'll build just a couple of links to it, like decently, good PBN links, high powered links, I'll push to it. And those are no follow links from those pages, but it's about getting it indexed and recognized. And a Wikidata page that's part of the semantic database, guys. So it's a great authority builder, like an entity validator, if that makes sense. Even though there are no follow links, it's just a really good link to have. So I'd encourage you to check that out. All right. Raisa says, do you think the reason indexing is so slow because of all the added filters and algos to censor and drive a certain agenda? I don't know, Raisa. It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know, what the problem is. I think a lot of it has to do with crawl budget. You got to imagine with the amount of content, especially now since the AI tools have come out, the amount of content that is being published online has increased exponentially. It's exploded since the AI writing tools have come out, because people it's like geometric exponential growth in the amount of pages being published. And so I think Google servers are overwhelmed and they have to restrict their crawl budgets. That's what I think. That's my own opinion, right? And I don't have any, I don't work for Google, so I don't know. But I think a lot of it has to do with the servers being overloaded, because there's just an incredible amount of content being published right now. And so the bots are really crawling only the sites that are more authoritative, that have traffic, that provide, value. And that's kind of why I think, manipulating traffic signals to links is one of the ways to get them indexed, is because Google's saying, okay, if there's traffic there, let's go see what this is about. And they'll send their bots to come crawl it. Does that make sense? So I don't know. Again, I don't work for Google. These are just kind of my own observations from the last couple of months testing. So, I mean, even my own money sites, sometimes they're just incredibly difficult to index, right? Even if they're really well-tuned content, the site structure is done real well and everything else, sometimes I'm having really a hard time getting stuff to index. So I found, run some traffic to it. One of the quickest way to get money site content indexed, if you're having trouble with that, is to run Google ads, display ads to it, because that's real known Google users. You're buying Google user traffic from Google directly from the source. So that's a good way to get an index. Another way to get an index is make sure you have like tag manager. And if you're running ads, you should have tag manager anyway, because you should have a remarketing tag. And, if you're trying to get a conversion, you should have conversion tags and everything else. Google Analytics, make sure you have that. Make sure it's submitted to Search Console, it's verified in Search Console. So the more Google code you can put on a page, the more likely it is to get indexed, if that makes sense. Embed a YouTube video. That's another good way to do it, right? Vance says, trying to indexification, 1.5 million links indexed for $18 a month. Results have varied. Yeah, that's the problem. I know I used to use indexification too, Vance, when I was doing a lot of spam. But I found that the quality, like the indexation rates, dropped significantly to the point where I canceled it, because it's basically worthless. And I don't know, I'm not saying that, if you're doing a lot of spam and you're finding some, varied results with it, then it might be worth it, but I'm just not doing spam anymore. So I don't care. I don't need it, but thanks. Maybe that'll help somebody. Jim says, Bradley, I was curious as to how much info, process tips, etc. you share in the mastermind with regard to your TreeCare HQ project. I'm considering doing something similar in a fairly niche, untapped market. I saw a trial email and thought to ask first. Thanks as always, you guys rock. Come join, Jim. You got a $10 trial offer that's floating around right now. We also, our quarterly offer is crazy. But yeah, I teach a lot about that. I haven't kind of put all that together, and we got to wrap up here, but I haven't put it all together in one cohesive training. My plan is to do that later this year, but we got to get Content Kings off the ground, and I've got some link building stuff that I'm doing for a link building service and all that. That's the priority. But I've taught throughout mastermind webinars over the last 3 or 4 months, because most of 2021 I was working on building that directory up and the whole process and systems for my own agency to use the directory as a prospecting tool. And then I have in high level, all of my automation set up for prospecting. And I've got all these processes built for my VAs that manage all the incoming leads from the prospecting. And so I've taught every component of that in the mastermind webinars over the course of several months. Again, they're not all packaged up nice and pretty in one area. My goal is at some point this year is to do that. I'm hoping to do that in the second quarter of this year, is to turn that all into a 12-week, 90-day plan, what they're called the directory agency model. But I don't know. I'm not going to commit to that 100%. It's my goal. I hope to, but I'm not going to commit to it, because Content Kings right now and my link building service are really the priorities. But come check it out, Jim. You've been following us here long enough, man. I hope you guys see, we're really trying to provide as much value as possible. So come check it out. You got nothing to lose. Seriously, you got nothing to lose. $10. You can come check it out for a week, and you can go look at the archives in the members area for all the past training webinars. You can try to extract the bits and pieces that you want out of it. And then, you can determine whether we provide enough value to warrant you staying as a regular member. I think you will. Lastly, Vance says, got it. Thank you. You covered it earlier. Yes, it was Wiki did it. There you go, Vance. Yeah, that's a great page, man, by the way. I'm still waiting to see how long they stick. I hope they stick indefinitely, but if they do stick, I'm going to be using that for every single one of my projects. It's super valuable. If they stick, that's the key. The guy says he's got a 4-month guarantee on them. So, but yeah, just run a little bit of traffic and a few links to it. Boom, it'll index. It might take some time, but it'll index. All right, everybody, we're a little bit over. Thanks everybody for being here.